This story that I'm about to talk to you about is what I mean when I talk about the double standards in America. And this is how, in my opinion, sexism, with the argument of sexism, should be applied properly versus how the feminists like to apply sexism. So this man's name is Gareon Conley. He currently plays in the NFL, and his career was almost ruined almost as soon as it began because some woman lied and claimed that he violated her years ago. But then it just came out that she was found liable in the claim, and she was ordered to pay a sum of money for the damages and what she caused. But when you find out how much she had to pay, unless you already know the story, it's like she might as well have not paid anything at all compared to how much this man actually makes in the NFL. So let's go ahead and get into it. More than 5 years after a woman accused former Ohio State University football standout Gareon Conley of violating her in a downtown Cleveland hotel room, a civil jury this month found her liable for malicious prosecution. The woman's accusation came weeks before the 2017 NFL draft, where Conley was projected to be a high first-round pick. Now look at that timing of how she claims that this happened to her right as soon as he was slated to be a huge draft pick for the NFL draft. You can't tell me that wasn't a coincidence. She filed a lawsuit a year later accusing him of assault, battery, and intentional infliction of emotional distress after a grand jury declined to indict him. Conley sued her in a counterclaim accusing her of malicious prosecution. After a 10-day trial in Cuyahoga County Common Pleas Court earlier this month, jurors sided with Conley and found the woman failed to show that Conley assaulted her. Conley's attorneys convinced the jury that the woman pursued criminal charges against him without probable cause that he committed a crime. Now hold on to your seats for this, because in the next sentence, I'm going to reveal how much this woman had to pay. The jury ordered the woman to pay Conley a whopping outstanding $300, including $100 in punitive damages as well as attorney fees. This woman only had to pay this man out $400. That is insane. Like I said, considering how much he actually makes playing in the NFL, that is nothing. Like I said, she might as well not paid anything at all. And like I said, this goes back to the double standards thing that I keep talking about, but I'll get towards that at the end. Conley's attorney, John Camillus, presented jurors with testimony from a former NFL general manager that the accusations cost Conley a higher selection in the draft and likely shaved more than $2 million off of Conley's rookie contract. But Conley only asked the jury to award him $300. It was never about the money. It was always about clearing his name and restoring his reputation. Well, shit, I would have asked for way more. Because this woman cost you $2 million. She cost you a lot of money. And a high draft pick behind a lie. Conley, a defensive back who was the 26th overall pick, is currently a free agent while rehabbing from a 2020 injury. Oh yeah, I would definitely ask for more. Camillus said the accusations have weighed on Conley for the last 5 years. Nobody wants to be accused of a crime they did not commit, Camillus said. All the more so when it is a crime as serious and as vile as violations. And all the more so when you are in a public spotlight as Gareon is. The woman's attorney, Patrick Thomas, did not respond to a request for comment. The woman, who was 23 years old at the time of the incident, testified at trial that she did not know who Conley was until she had already gone to the police, according to a transcript of her testimony. She said detectives told her Conley's name days later because reporters had learned the accusations and were going to publish stories. The incident happened about 3:30 a.m. April 9, 2017 at the Westin Hotel. She and a group of her co-workers went to Barley House earlier that night. When the bar closed, her group was going to go to the Westin, where one of the members had a hotel room. She testified that Conley, whose agent had booked him in a hotel room at the same hotel, came up to her outside the bar and said, "We're going to the Westin." She said she went with him because she thought he was a friend of one of her friends. She said that when she got to the hotel, Conley invited her up to his room to grab a bottle of Crown Royal to bring to her friend's room. She said she became uncomfortable in his room when another couple began having sex in the bathroom, and Conley tried to pull her onto him on the bed. She said Conley later forced her to perform oral sex. She said that she decided to go along with Conley because she was afraid of what would happen if she tried to fight. She said Conley then violated her. They were interrupted when someone knocked at the door and the other man in the room answered the door. She said she began arguing with Conley and the other man. She and the woman then went downstairs and called the police. On cross-examination, Camillus pointed to previous statements the woman had given to police that differed from her testimony. She told police 2 days after the incident that Conley came up to her at the Barley House and told her she was beautiful and invited her to his room for a drink. Now that's different because in her original testimony, she never mentioned him seeing her at that bar or that place, that location. She said that she saw him at the Westin Hotel and then proceeded to invite her to his room to get that Crown Royal, and then all of that other stuff happened. That insert part about that other location was never there in her original testimony. She straight up lied. She also said that he told her he played football at Ohio State and his agent booked him the room. She said that she and Conley held hands on the way back to the hotel. She never said in her original testimony either that he told her about him playing football at Ohio State. The woman maintained that she had told Conley she didn't want to have sex with him. She said when Conley pulled her onto the bed, she got up and told him that she wanted to watch the other two people in the bathroom. Conley said they were going to, quote unquote, make our own fun on the bed. She said, no, we're not. Camillus pointed out that after she made that comment, she discussed engaging in other sexual acts with Conley. She acknowledged that Conley may have believed that the encounter was consensual. The woman testified that she has suffered constant panic attacks since the incident, and seeing references to Ohio State can trigger them. She also said that before the encounter, she had planned to move to Miami to start her career, but that dream died. Camillus called Mark Dominic, the former general manager of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, to testify that Conley could have been taken as high as the 11th pick in the NFL draft and had been given a $12.9 million contract. Dominic said that the accusations likely caused teams to pass on Conley until the Oakland Raiders took him with the 26th and he received a $10.5 million contract. I'm surprised that the contract was still relatively that close to the original contract that he could have got, considering how far down in the draft he got because of this woman's obvious lies. The Raiders traded Conley after the 2019 season to the Houston Texans, who released him after he spent the entire 2020 season on the injured reserve list with an ankle injury that required surgery. Camillus said that Conley is rehabbing the injury and plans to return to the NFL. Yeah, this whole thing is messed up. And this is where the double standard part comes in. Why don't we know who this woman's name is? Why don't we know her identity? Because she should be put on blast. She should not be getting any type of protection whatsoever. And this is not for me to cover from Jalen Rose, because like his backpedaling was so crazy the way that he did that. And then the other stuff he said after that was ridiculous. But remember the video I did about Jalen Rose where he was questioning why we don't know the identity of the woman that was having, as far as we know, consensual sex with Ime Udoka. And then right in the middle of a commercial break, they literally had him jump in as if it was a breaking news story to come on and give that piss poor apology that looked so robotic and scripted. Well, he looked robotic and it sounded scripted. This is exactly why we want to know and question when people do stuff like this. The fact that her identity is not known is crazy, and she's not a minor. They said at the time she was 23, and that was back in 2017, which means she's closer to 30 now than she is 20. Why we don't know her identity, I don't know. They can't use that thing, oh, she's a woman, and that's the part where I talk about the double standards. And now this is where sexism kicks in. If this was reversed, we would have known who her attacker was, or whatever the case may be. This man right here fell into the Brian Banks category. I'm sure many of you know who the Brian Banks story and how that pretty much ruined not only his chances with the NFL, but ruined his life behind a lie. And again, in that case, that was Brian Banks being, a black man playing playing football, had chances of going to the NFL and all types of stuff like that, or at least going to a college playing D1. But in that case, that was a black female that did that to him. We don't know the demographic of this woman right here, that made these claims. So that's still up in the air, and we probably will never know. All we know is her age. We don't know her name. We don't know her race. None of that. We just know her age. And that she said that she was going to plan on moving to Miami, quote unquote. I bet she was planning on doing that to try to get away from the lie that she told. But again, the fact that we don't know who she is, it does not sit right with me at all. And only had to pay $300. I would have been demanding a whole lot more. And I would have demanded that she should be in jail. That's another thing. A lot of these women who do stuff like this hardly ever get jail time. Like, really, they hardly ever get jail time. If they even get jail time at all. I can't remember the last time I did a story where there was a woman that accused a man of violating her, and when they discovered that it wasn't true, that she went to jail behind her lies. Wouldn't that be considered perjury? And I could have sworn perjury is a felony, and you definitely will get jail time behind it. Look at Lil' Kim. Isn't that what she went to jail for? But then again, Lil' Kim is a black woman. And I'm not excusing her for what she did, but we know why she did it. But the fact remains is that whenever there's a situation like this, the woman usually escapes unscathed, and then the cherry on top, if it's a black man that's being accused, then that's perfect. And now they said this guy's pretty much a free agent because he's recovering, or he's rehabbing from an injury that he suffered back in 2020. It's 2022. Think about that. He's still rehabbing. That means like there's really no money coming in unless he has invested properly from the money that he got from his draft, or any other kind of funds that he has made over the years. But that's crazy. It's wild to me that careers and livelihoods are destroyed on lies. But then when you think about the fabric of America and how whole towns that black people built and businesses that black people built, how did they get destroyed? On lies. So if they can do that on entities where it's a collective, doing it on a singular person is a walk in the park. And it's statements like the ones I just gave and historical facts like the ones I just laid out, which is exactly why I say, and I will stand firmly on this, that PC as a collective is not far removed from their ancestors.